weather, Bradley Beal staying in Washington. And look, you can see James Harden there as well. Some people opting out. Bradley Beal has signed, and now James Harden, according to our Adrian Wojnarowski, is going to be meeting with the 76ers, looking to see what his future in Philadelphia could look like. I want to get to a little bit more on Washington, though, so let's bring back in our front office insider, Bobby Marks. Hey, Bobby.
Hey, Malika. $250 million for Bradley Beal here. It's been a long day.
It's been a long day, Bobby.
So we look at this Wizards roster. They've made the Will Barton and Monty Morris trade. So now Beal comes in at $43 million. That is a max contract, $250 million. Wow. That puts them, they're over the salary cap here. A lot of it's going to rely on what happens with Kristaps Porzingis as far as him staying healthy. But I think when you look at it from the situation of if you lose Beal for nothing, you cannot replace him. Let's say a year from now or 2 years from now, he asks out, things are not going well, you could always flip him down the road for, certainly players and more draft picks here.
Bobby, thank you. This is a direct quote from Zach Lowe earlier. Quote, "I have a lot to say about this." Go ahead.
I think the Wizards missed the boat on trading Bradley Beal. I think it was with 2 years left on his deal or something like that when his value is at an all-time high. And on this contract, I think it's going to be hard to get great value for Brad Beal if, as Bobby says, he ever goes to them and says, I want out of here. I understand why they did it, and Bradley Beal is a great player. If you put Bradley Beal on a team like Miami or something with great defensive talent, he will look awesome. On this Wizards team, I just don't know where they're going, and I feel like they missed their best opportunity to cash out, make a decision on what direction they were going to be. My last thing, we talked about Kyrie Irving trade teams. I'm making this up out of thin air.
I believe you.
Wizards need a point guard. I mean, they got Monte Morris. He's a really good, he might be the best backup point guard in the NBA. Why not say we're all in on Bradley Beal? Let's take a look at Kyrie.
Interesting for me, the context now in which we're going to probably view Bradley Beal forever now. I mean, you're talking about now he's going to be with an organization for 15 years if he stays there and fills this contract up, and possibly never really being on a relevant team. I mean, he hasn't won a playoff series in 5 years. I'm not mad for the Wizards because when you have a guy in-house and you're even the bad franchises, you have a guy in-house like that, you have to overvalue him or overpay him relative to maybe even how the rest of the league views him. So I understand why they had to do it. I certainly understand why you take $250 million if you're Bradley Beal. I just think this was, to me, his opportunity to hit free agency and go. You're still going to make, 4 years, 200 or something like that, to go somewhere else, but maybe put yourself in a position where you're playing games in April, May, and June potentially. And it just didn't seem like that was something that he was interested in. He's very happy where he's at, I guess. But now he's going to be in relative obscurity for 15 years probably.
Well, I know we hope that, he does get traded, not from the standpoint of just because we want to see great players in relevant moments. And the way it is going right now and the way it's been going with the Wizards, it's not about not taking the money, right? And a lot of people can tell you there's a lot of money out there to be had. But at some point in time in your career, and I'm not talking about ring chasing, I just want to know when I walk into that season, we're competing for something more than paychecks. And right now, they're in the tax. They're above the tax. And this is a team that not a lot of people are going to project to make the postseason, and they're a tax team. That is you're not even like OKC. They're so low and they have cap space.
Yeah, they have to.
They are a tax team, and there's not a person on this panel that would pick them to make a second round.
I'm not picking them to make a first round.
Exactly. So they're from a franchise,
I think we all agree.
We do, but I think in the next 2 or 3 years, it's going to say a lot about Bradley Beal. I'm okay with you accepting the money and accepting the contract right now, the Supermax, and getting $251 million because he's only 29 years of age. Meaning, in my opinion, I'm looking at a person prime, usually range from 27 years of age to about 35. Okay, so I'm saying to myself, Bradley Beal has about 5 great years of basketball left. Okay, maybe you try it out for 2 years. But in 2 years, if things haven't worked out and you don't come to the table and say that you want out and you want to get to a contender, then that's going to show, and that's going to always leave that question mark whether you were whether you were really a winner or had the winning mentality. There's nothing wrong with getting your money, get your lettuce. But then you could solve a lot of questions and answer a lot of questions in the next 2 or 3 years about yourself.
Well, and the last thing I'll say is that if he would have been traded with 2 years earlier, and there was that, you talked about missing the boat, he could have gotten 5 years, $250 from a good team.
But you know what's crazy? You said that about, Washington missing the boat. But Bradley Beal didn't show them no signs that he wanted to.
No,
I agree with you, Zach. But I'm saying it's a two-way streak in there.
Agree?
Well, so this is unfair, though, because we do this with players. Like, I'm talking from Washington's perspective. I think they missed the boat. With Bradley Beal, we do this thing where, like, it's so great when a player stays with one team his whole career. That's what we want. And then we do this other thing where it's like, well, why hasn't he traded his way out of Washington? He doesn't care about winning. It's like, what if he really just wants to try to win in Washington?
Well, I will say this. There is a difference between a guy that's been someplace for 10 years that's really, year after year, not a contending team. I think most people would give a guy like that a pass if you want to leave at that point.
Ain't nobody faulting him for leaving the Wizards. Maybe leaving $50 million and be like, yo, he really wanted to get the hell out of there, right?
Philadelphia, I felt, was very close like a year ago, right, to get Bradley Beal. And I would love to know what that would have looked like if you paired him
Instead
with
of Harden.
Correct.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.